Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling a topic that I think is on a lot of people's minds, the connection between money and happiness.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic.
And we're going beyond, those typical budgeting tips and tricks and really getting into the psychology of it all.
Exactly.
So we're going to be drawing some insights from a Harvard economics professor, Arthur Brooks.
Oh, very interesting.
He's done some fascinating research on this. And get this, he has this whole framework about 5 ways to use your money. And he says only 4 of them actually lead to lasting happiness.
Huh. Okay. So one of them is like a happiness trap.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
One's a total trap. So in this deep dive, we're going to be uncovering those 5 methods, talking about why one is such a happiness killer and really exploring how you can use your money in ways that actually boost your well-being.
Sounds good. I'm ready to dive in.
All right. So let's start with Brooks's framework. He talks about these 5 different ways to use money. You can buy things, you can buy experiences, you can buy time, you can give it away, or you can save it.
Okay. Makes sense.
And what's interesting is he says that our brains often trick us.
Oh, I can see
That
that.
if we think certain things will make us happy, but they actually don't. So before we reveal which one of these is the happiness trap, I'm curious, what are your initial thoughts looking at this list?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty relatable, right? That we've all probably experienced that feeling of thinking like, oh, if I just had that new gadget or that fancy car, I'd be so much happier. But then you get it and it's like, it's not really all that.
Totally, yeah. It's like that initial excitement fades so quickly.
So maybe that's a clue there.
Maybe.
Hmm.
All right, well, let's spill the beans. According to Brooks, the happiness trap is buying things.
Buying things, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm really curious to hear your take on this. Why do you think that is? Why is buying all this stuff not actually the path to happiness?
Okay, so I think to understand this, we have to take a step back and look at human nature. Brooks argues that we humans are hardwired to seek status.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. It's like ingrained in our DNA. We're a hierarchical species.
Huh.
Even going back to our evolutionary roots, think about all those nature documentaries with animals constantly competing for dominance.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like the alpha male or the leader of the pack.
Exactly. And Brooks says that even though we live in a modern society now, this primal instinct to establish our place in the pecking order is still there. It's just that the way we signal status has changed.
Oh, I see. So instead of fighting for territory or resources, we're using material possessions to show our worth.
Right. Like in today's world, those fancy cars and designer clothes, they've kind of become the modern day equivalent of a peacock's feathers or a lion's mane.
So we're basically peacocking with our purchases, trying to impress others and show off our success, even if that stuff doesn't actually align with what we truly value.
Exactly. And the problem is, those material things, they might give us a temporary boost of happiness, like that dopamine hit when you buy something new.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I've
Yeah.
definitely felt that.
But it fades so quickly, and then we're just left wanting more. It's like we get on this hedonic treadmill, always chasing the next thing, but never quite reaching a state of true contentment.
That's such a good analogy. The hedonic treadmill, I love that.
Yeah, Brooks uses this great example. He talks about people who own like 5 watches when they really only need one.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
It's not about the function anymore, right? Like, it's not about telling time. It's about making a statement. It's about signaling to the world, hey, look at me, I'm successful.
I think we've all fallen into that trap at some point. Like that feeling of keeping up with the Joneses or just wanting to project a certain image. But it's so interesting that Brooks is saying this is actually detrimental to our happiness.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder, what are those other 4 ways to use money that he says actually boost our happiness?
Right. So no, buying things is out. What about these other methods like buying experiences, buying time, giving money away, and saving? Are those actually the keys to a more fulfilling life?
Well, that's what we're going to explore next, so stay tuned.
Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into those 4 money methods that Brooks says actually boost happiness.
All right, let's do it.
So first up, we have buying experiences. Now, I think a lot of people can intuitively grasp why this would lead to more happiness, those memories and moments that you create.
Yeah, exactly. It's about investing in those things that create lasting memories and deepen connections with the people you care about.
And Brooks, he actually shares a really cool personal anecdote in his book about this. He talks about his first anniversary with his wife and how they had this choice to make. They could either buy a new sofa or they could take a beach vacation.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Right. And you know what they chose?
The beach vacation.
Yep. And he says years later, they don't even remember the sofa.
Mm-hmm.
But the memories from that beach trip, Those have stayed with them and continued to bring them joy.
Wow, that's a really powerful example. It really highlights the difference between, material possessions and those intangible experiences that create those lasting bonds.
Totally. And there's actually a scientific basis for this, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a whole field of neuroscience devoted to studying how memories are formed and stored in the brain.
Interesting.
And the research suggests that experiences, especially those shared experiences with strong emotions and personal connections, they tend to be encoded more vividly in our brains and retrieved more easily, which makes them more powerful sources of happiness over time.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's like creating a mental photo album filled with these joyful memories.
Exactly. So it's not just a fleeting feeling.
Yeah.
Those experiences actually leave a lasting imprint on our brains.
Fascinating. Okay, so we've got buying experiences checked off the list. What's next?
All right, up next we have buying time. Now this one might sound a little bit counterintuitive, especially if you're thinking, money is tight.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, isn't buying time a luxury that only wealthy people can afford?
Well, that's a common misconception. And Brooks actually addresses that directly.
Yeah.
He says that buying time isn't about quitting your job and jet setting around the world. It's more about making those strategic choices to free up your time so you can focus on the things that truly matter to you.
So, like, what kind of things are we talking about?
Well, it could be something as simple as, hiring someone to clean your house or mow your lawn.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Or maybe it's getting groceries delivered instead of spending hours at the supermarket.
Okay, so basically outsourcing tasks that drain your energy and take up your time.
Exactly. And Brooks' point is that by freeing up that time, you're able to pursue activities that bring you joy, whether it's spending time with loved ones, pursuing hobbies, or just simply relaxing and recharging.
So you're essentially investing in your well-being by reclaiming your time.
Right. And there's also that added bonus of contributing to the economy by, creating jobs for others.
Oh, yeah, good point. It's like a win-win situation.
Exactly. All right, now the next one, this one might seem a little counterintuitive at first.
Oh, okay, I'm intrigued.
Brooks argues that giving money away can actually increase your happiness and even potentially lead to greater wealth in the long run.
Whoa, hold on. How does giving your money away make you richer?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Sounds kind of crazy. But Brooks explains that it's not about magically manifesting more money. It's more about the indirect benefits that come with generosity.
Okay, I'm listening.
So when you give to others, Brooks says you tend to become more involved in problem solving and you start seeking out efficient solutions.
Oh, interesting.
And these skills, these problem-solving skills and this focus on efficiency, those can actually translate into success in other areas of your life.
I see. So it's not just about the warm, fuzzy feeling you get from helping others. It's about developing a more proactive and resourceful mindset that can actually benefit you in various ways.
That's exactly it. And there's even research showing that generous people are seen as more attractive partners.
Oh, wow. Okay, so there's a social benefit too.
Right. But here's the catch. Brooks emphasizes that in order to really experience the joy of giving, it has to be authentic.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, you can't just be throwing money at things and expecting to feel fulfilled.
Exactly. He says it's about finding a cause that truly resonates with you, something that speaks to your values and your passions.
Like finding that sweet spot where your personal values intersect with a need in the world.
Yes. It's about aligning your giving with your heart.
Beautiful. Okay, so we've covered buying experiences, buying time, giving money away. That leaves us with saving.
Right, saving money.
Yeah.
This one might not sound as exciting as jetting off to a tropical island.
Yeah.
But Brooks argues that saving actually provides a deep sense of psychological satisfaction.
I can see that. Like, there's that sense of security and control that comes with knowing you're building a solid foundation for your future.
Exactly. But how does that tie into happiness?
Well, Brooks explains that saving taps into our fundamental drive for progress
Uh-huh.
and that anticipation of reward. It's about setting a goal and working towards it, experiencing that sense of accomplishment along the way. Think about the satisfaction you feel when you watch your savings grow. You're taking control of your financial future, and that can be incredibly empowering.
Right. It's like that feeling of working towards a fitness goal and seeing the numbers on the scale move in the right direction. Each step, each bit of progress brings a sense of satisfaction.
Exactly. Brooks actually uses that analogy. He says the process of dieting, the daily discipline, it becomes a source of happiness because it provides tangible evidence of progress. It's not just about the end goal, it's about the journey of getting there.
That's such a great point. It shifts the focus from deprivation to empowerment. Speaking of empowerment, Brooks also has some pretty strong views on debt.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this.
He even says debt is a form of slavery. That's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, it is. But I think it really underscores the potential impact debt can have on our well-being. It can create this huge burden that weighs us down.
Right. But I think it's also important to acknowledge that not all debt is bad, right?
Oh, definitely. Like a mortgage, for example, that can be a strategic tool for building long-term wealth if it's managed responsibly.
Exactly. And Brooks actually distinguishes between what he calls good debt and bad debt. He's mostly concerned about the kind of debt that accumulates from, things like high-interest credit cards or excessive student loans.
Yeah, that's the kind of debt that can trap you in a cycle of stress and financial insecurity.
Right. So it's not just about being in debt, it's about the type of debt and how it's managed.
Precisely. Research shows that certain types of debt can really diminish happiness. It's about making those conscious choices to avoid the kind of debt that becomes a burden, and instead freeing yourself to focus on the things that truly enrich your life.
Okay, so if we're talking about making conscious choices, how does Brooks's concept of the happiness 401k fit into this?
Yeah.
The happiness 401k, it's a really interesting concept. Can you break that down for us a bit more?
Sure. So basically, it's like a brilliant analogy to retirement planning. Just as you make like those regular contributions to a 401k to secure your financial future, Brooks suggests that investing in your well-being early in life, that'll yield like greater happiness down the road.
Oh, I like that. So it's like building those habits and practices that support your overall well-being, just as you would build a financial portfolio.
Exactly. It's about making those choices consistently, just like with your financial investments.
So those 4 happiness boosters we discussed, buying experiences, buying time, giving it away, and saving those, are essentially like contributions to our happiness 401k.
Exactly. It's all about making those choices, consistently over time. And what's fascinating is Brooks suggests that these happiness-boosting methods, they ultimately boil down to one central theme.
Oh, and what's that?
Love.
Love. Okay, that's an interesting twist. How does love tie into all of this?
Well, when Brooks talks about love, he's not just talking about romantic love. He's talking about love in like its broadest sense.
Okay.
Love for something greater than yourself, love for your family and friends, love for humanity as a whole.
Oh, I see.
It's about cultivating those connections, acting in ways that express those forms of love.
So like giving money away, that can be seen as an act of love for humanity. Buying experiences is a way to express love for your family and friends.
Exactly. And even saving can be seen as an act of love for your future self, ensuring your well-being down the road. Brooks argues that when you view like all these actions through the lens of love, it brings a whole new dimension to your financial choices.
Yeah, it's not just about personal gain anymore. It's about contributing to something larger than yourself.
Right. It's about shifting your perspective from what can I get to what can I give.
That's powerful. So shifting our focus from acquiring things to cultivating these various forms of love, that's the key to unlocking a deeper and more sustainable sense of happiness.
That's what Brooks believes. And it makes you wonder about like those millennials who are saying they need to make $525,000 a year to feel less stressed. Are they maybe overlooking the power of these like simpler, more love-centered approaches?
That's a really good point. Did Brooks address that study at all?
He did, actually. And while he acknowledges like the very real financial pressures faced by younger generations, he does caution against pinning your happiness solely on reaching a certain income level.
Yeah.
He thinks there's a risk of getting caught on what he calls the hedonic treadmill. Always striving for more, never quite reaching a state of contentment.
Oh, that's so true. It's like chasing a moving target. You keep raising the bar, but your happiness level never really catches up.
Exactly. And Brooks emphasizes that true happiness, it's not about the number on your paycheck. It's about aligning your financial choices with your values and cultivating those things that bring genuine fulfillment. It's about finding that sweet spot where your financial well-being supports your overall well-being, not the other way around.
Right. I know in his research he found that $75,000 a year was like the sweet spot for maximum life satisfaction. But even he acknowledges that that's kind of a fluid number, based on location and personal circumstances. It really comes down to what each individual considers enough to cover their needs and pursue those things that bring them joy.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between financial security and pursuing your passions, and recognizing that money is simply a tool to support that journey, not the destination itself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the economics of happiness, I want to leave our listeners with this quote. Could shifting your focus away from acquiring things and towards cultivating these forms of love be the key to unlocking a greater sense of happiness in your own life? It's something to really think about. Personally, this whole conversation has been so inspiring. I'm feeling motivated to take a closer look at my own financial habits and see where I can maybe make some adjustments. Maybe it's time to finally book that family vacation or commit to supporting that cause that's been tugging at my heartstrings. What about you? What resonated most with you from Brooks's work?
You know what really struck me was the idea that happiness, it's not like a fixed point, it's an ongoing process. It's about making those conscious choices, each day that align with your values and contribute to your well-being, both individually and as part of a larger community.
That's a great point. It takes the pressure off, that idea of achieving some ultimate state of happiness, and reminds us that it's about those small intentional actions we take each day.
And ultimately, it circles back to Brooks's central message. Investments in life are investments in love. Whether it's spending quality time with loved ones, giving back to your community, or simply savoring like the beauty of the present moment, these are the things that enrich our lives and create like a ripple effect of happiness that extends far beyond ourselves.
It really is a beautiful way to reframe our relationship with money, isn't it?
Hmm.
Instead of seeing it as the ultimate goal, we can start to view it as fuel for those acts of love and connection that create a truly rich and meaningful life.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important point. Money itself is neutral. It's not inherently good or bad. It's all about how we use it, that determines its impact on our well-being and on the world around us.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. It's been an absolute pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
The pleasure was all mine. I always enjoy these conversations.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought and maybe even inspired you to make some positive changes in your own life. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep investing in those things that bring you joy and make the world a better place.